Well, hello, and thank you for joining me this evening. Come on in and take a seat because class is now officially in session. Have you ever wondered what makes a school run efficiently and effectively? Have you ever thought about is high quality instruction? Have you ever wondered how do you meet the needs of a diverse range of students inside of a classroom? How will you see funding to buy supplies to engage students in real world and relevant curriculum? What does a principal really do? Have you ever asked yourself, is discipline really fair across the board for students despite their race, sex? How is that funding is applied to a school district? And why does it vary from school to school and from district to district? What rules and regulations really guide the work that leaders and teachers do each and every day? Are students and teachers really treated equitably? Do they see themselves as a unit? Is inclusion really a thing that happens in school? Will you have to wonder? No more. This is the place where those questions, those thoughts are answered, because here we provide access to information to teachers, leaders, parents, and all stakeholders who find value in education. My name is Dr. Christopher Holmes, and this is Teacher Talks. There we go. Welcome, guys, to Teacher Talks. A little bit of technical difficulty here, but thank you guys for tuning in. I am your host, Dr. Christopher Holmes, and again, you are watching Teacher Talks. Class is now in session. Come on in, take your seat, take out your supplies and utensils, but most importantly, open up your mind and open up your mouth. I do want to hear from you because you drive the conversation here in Teacher Talks. So you see the title tonight is entitled Tough Decisions, Moving On, Moving Up, and Moving Out. So this conversation, again, the context is related to education, but this particular topic relates to many of us in whatever field we may currently be in. So I would definitely want you to take time to like this video. I also want you to share it. Share it right now. If you have colleagues that are in education, if you have family members and friends that may be educators, go ahead, share this now with them. We are going to have a conversation that they may more than likely be very interested in. If you have parents of students, also share this with them. This is something that's also tailored to meet their needs as it relates to how they support their child and how they support teachers and how they support and engage with schools. It is after the 9 o'clock hour here on the East Coast. I am based out of Atlanta. So as I always say, it is 9 o'clock. Hopefully your kids, if they're young, 10 or below, hopefully they're down because it's time for the adults to catch up. As always, I have my handy mug here. This is my Teacher Talks mug. Several of you have these. I've given these out for prizes. I definitely have to give away some more prizes soon. You guys enjoyed the game nights that I do. And of course, who doesn't love to get a free gift? So I've got more of these that I can give out, and I want to give them out. So I've got to schedule a time to do that with you guys. But go ahead and get your cup, get your mug, get your glass, and you can pour in it whatever your little heart desires. Now, tonight, what's in my cup is not tea and it's not coffee tonight. It is Red Bull. Why? Because Dr. Holmes is tired. It's been a long day. I've been going since early this morning. I've been in classes and in schools all day today, and then had to drive back home to do some more training virtually. And now I'm here with you guys. So when this is wrapping up, I'm going to enjoy the rest of my night and kind of unwind a little bit. So go ahead. Cheers to you. Thank you for what you do each and every day. I thank you. I appreciate you. I value the work of educators, of leaders, and parents who are supporting those inside of the buildings because your decisions, your input, and your commitment to education makes a tremendous difference. So here's to you. So we're not going to be in here very long tonight. I do want to give a shout out to everybody who's watching me on YouTube on Fully Engaged Education, 3 words. Get on over there right now. If you have not done so, you guys to subscribe to the channel. Remember, we are on the road to 1,000. That may not mean anything to some of you. Like 1,000 subscribers, that's nothing. But for a guy from a little small town who's just talking about education to get 1,000 subscribers, that's super, super important to me. That's a really big, monumental goal for me. So help me get there, 1,000 subscribers. I thank you in advance for getting me to meeting my goal. If you're on Facebook, I salute you. Thank you so much for watching as well. I always appreciate you guys. Honestly, Facebook is where some of the better comments come from. Some of you guys are really, really engaged and really committed to the conversation on Facebook. And then I have my whole crew who's over there on LinkedIn. Thank you guys for watching. These are my professionals, okay? These are my academics. These are my hardcore teachers. These are those who are moving and navigating through the professional world. So thank you guys for watching. Those are the ones I have to speak very professionally for and use my language of academics, right? But you get it. You're going to get the authentic, real Chris when you watch Teacher Talks. This is the Cookout Chris. This is the Christian Chris. This is the Kappa Chris. This is the Chris that everybody loves. And this is the one that you get all the time. I'm very authentic. I'm very myself, very comfortable in this own in my own melanated skin that I exist in. So thank you guys for watching. I am watching the chat and all of those channels. So if you have comments, listen, throw them in there. I'm watching and I'm listening. Now, tonight's topic is going to be a little bit of a conversation, a little bit of those channels. So if you have comments, listen, throw them in. A little bit of me doing a little bit of storytelling. And then a lot of the comments coming from you. I want to hear what you guys have to say. So let's talk about tough decisions. Hello. Thank you. I see you there, Miss Jackson. Again, I always ask you guys to kind of let me know where you are, where you're coming from, and give me a shout out. Show your boy some love because I love having you guys here. I love seeing your comments. I love seeing your questions. And then even some of the shared experiences that you all contribute to the conversation. So thank you. So if you throw it in the chat, it's going to pop up. I will give you a shout out by throwing that comment on here so everybody can see what you have to say, because every comment, every question, and every experience does have value here on Teacher Talks. So in whatever career you may currently exist, there are to be some tough decisions that you have to make. And some of those tough decisions relate to moving on, moving up, and then sometimes moving out. And sometimes they're tough because they're uncomfortable. And sometimes there may not be certainty for you as you make or when you make these decisions. So for me, again, for those that don't know, I have an educational consulting company right now that I run, and I travel around supporting specifically Title I schools based on policy, helping them implement policies, implement change that's going to meet the expectation of policies. But overall, we're really trying to move the needle for students and helping them to achieve a greater level of success as it relates to academics, and then preparing them for post K-12 experience, whether it be college, military, or entering into the workforce, there is a certain level of knowledge and skills that students need to have in order to be successful when they transition out of the K-12 setting. Period. Point blank. There's some awareness, there's some capacity, there's some acknowledgement that has to happen first in order to put the plan in place to help students meet those goals and to be successful. So that's what I do. But in essence, I am just a little man who's just a teacher that loves to talk. I used to sit in my classroom and sit on my stool and have conversations just like this with my students all the time. And I said, listen, guys, it's time for teacher talks. Who knew that over a decade later, I would be doing this with you guys, sharing my stories and really, really providing access to information and knowledge is really going to help close that achievement gap. And that is my ultimate desire. So I entered into the field of education, not even knowing what I was getting myself into, but I said yes, right? And I taught in the classroom for about 7 years. At about year 5, I start feeling like, how much more of this will I do? I had really achieved a lot of success in the classroom, well, with a lot of my students, and I taught a range of students, right? So I taught students from those who had no belief in, who were at the bottom of the totem pole, who had experienced very little to no academic success. And I've taught those very high performing achievers who had always experienced success that I now had to challenge and make them uncomfortable to say, listen, you can learn even more. Like your brain can be expanded even more than what it is, even at the level that you currently exist. So after 7 years, I'm thinking, this is a lot of great work, but I'm enjoying it. But I wasn't feeling as if I was making as big of a difference as I was when I first started. I also was doing a lot of work with colleagues and peers, supporting them, giving them advice, coming in and sharing my experiences, sharing some of my resources with them. And I also enjoyed doing that. Of course, I got into it really from the aspect of supporting students, but the interactions I had with adults, I understood at some point were going to make a difference for even more students, even those that I did not teach personally. And so year 6 came around, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm still loving my students, but I'm not loving the overall experience that I'm having as just a teacher. But I didn't want to leave the classroom because I was so conflicted, right? And every good teacher struggles with leaving a class because they want to ensure that that next round of students are going to get the same level of high quality instruction, love, and passion that they gave. So there's this fear walking away because of the unknown. But a lot of it has to rest in the idea that you trust your colleagues, you trust your peers to do the same quality of work that you're going to do or that you were doing. And who's to say that you're not going to step into a position where you then support them in that work in the same place? And that was my experience. I had the opportunity to step outside of the classroom and become a coach, instructional coach, instructional support in the same building. So I didn't feel so afraid, but I had to make the decision that I had to move on from the classroom. It was so tough, y'all, for me to move on from my students that my principal had to give me a full semester to kind of get myself together to be okay with walking away. And so I appreciate him for doing that, for believing in me. Shout out to you, Mr. Jeff Holman. He knew how reluctant I was to leave that classroom. And he said to me, literally, he forced me out. And he said to me, Chris, come December, you're no longer going to be in the classroom. I really want you to be the instructional coach. And he said, I'm giving you to December, and I'm going to find somebody to come in to replace you. And man, I wrestled with that thing the whole semester, dreading December coming because I knew my last stand as their teacher was ending. And so, but I knew it was time to move on. I felt it, right? You have this feeling. Um, there's a feeling where you feel either unsatisfied, um, you feel ineffective, or you feel that there's a purpose greater than what you're doing. Unfulfilled, unsatisfied, ineffective, or there's something pulling you out because it's saying to you there's something greater for you to do than what you're currently doing. And that is the experience that I had. I felt that pull, that there was something more that I was supposed to do, not outside of education, but greater in the field of education. And so I left. I became a coach, and I eventually fell in love with coaching. Why? Because I was still interacting with students. I was supporting teachers at the same time. So it was like the best of both worlds, right? I was filling my bucket from both ends, and I was loving every minute of it. But then here's the struggle with that. I knew the position was a grant position, that grant was ending after 3 years. So I had to make a decision about what was I going to do, and say, and did I make the right decision to walk away from the classroom where the position was at least guaranteed year to year to year forever, and walking into a grant position where I know there was a deadline of 3 years that I was going to have to move on to something else. And who knew what that something else was? I was just walking into my new calling, right? My new purpose, that new thing that was filling me up, but it had a deadline. It had a stop date, right? And so I didn't focus on that the first year. I focused on diving myself into the work because I still want to be effective. I want to be fulfilled. I want to have purpose. I want to make a difference as a coach. And so I worked hard. I worked hard. Year one was a struggle, but I saw gains across all classrooms. Year two came, it was getting easier. We were really, really developing a culture of high achieving students, high performing teachers, and a data driven culture where everything was attached to a number. We could not have conversations if we weren't talking about data, and that data translated into a student, a real person, a human. And that made the work more powerful because we weren't just talking about a student ID number or a percentage or a percent or a fraction of our students. We were talking about David. We were talking about John. We were talking about Melinda. We were talking about Monique. We were talking about Talib. We were talking about these students individually, how they were doing, how we're going to meet their needs and close that gap, and then how are we going to increase their academic achievement by setting goals and really collaborating with them, and not just the students, but with the parents. Parents were aware. We were all on board. And so those conversations began to be so impactful, so real, and so productive because we start seeing the needle moving. And we saw the needle moving fairly quickly. In a short period of time, we saw 30 percentile points in achievement being reached. That was massive. So year three, the work was really running itself. I was really now not directing, I was just facilitating conversations with students, facilitating conversations with teachers, doing collaborative planning, doing PLCs, guiding professional training and job embedded professional learning inside the schools, now across the school, bringing more people on board with what we were doing to make a difference. And people start believing. But guess what? My 3 years were running out. And so I had to find something new to do that was going to give me the same feeling, the same purpose, the same satisfaction, the same fulfillment as the coaching position. And lo and behold, I wasn't afraid. I had faith that whatever that thing was going to be was going to come to me. But at this point, I knew I wasn't moving on. The next step was moving up. And the fear of moving up is responsibility. So some of you are struggling with moving on, moving maybe to a new building, maybe to a new district, but still doing the work, the high quality work that you want to do, right? Then some of us are moving not on, but moving up, taking on a higher position, taking on more responsibility, falling into a leadership role, whether it be something in administration at central office or assistant principal or director of a position, or it could be human resources, or moving into Title One. We're dealing with policy and implementation, or actually running a school as a principal. But not moving on, but moving up. The fear, like, can I do it? That self-doubt kicks in, right? Another type of fear kicks in. And now you're thinking, am I going to be able to manage processes, procedures, and people? And now you're getting to this whole realm of where you are beginning to create and build ideas based off your beliefs and your talents. in your gifts, because it's the talents and the gifts that has gotten you there. So trust that, because it's the talent and the gift that's going to keep and sustain you in that position as you move up. But you have to make the tough decision to overcome the fear and make the decision to make the move. So that's what happened. I moved up. I moved on to central office. Got involved with curriculum and instruction, because that too is my passion. Like I am a teacher's teacher. You'll hear me say that all the time. I will always title myself as a teacher's teacher, because that work is where really the rubber meets the road. And so I value that, because I understand it is likely the most important thing, because it is what creates change and drives students to be successful. Shout out to you, Dr. Reynolds. Thank you for watching, brother. He's always here, always showing love, always supporting. Thank you again. So I moved out, and I moved up, right? I moved up to a new position. I did that for several years. In the same token, the success was not as quick, because now I'm dealing with thousands of individuals, right? This was a pretty big district. So thousands of students, hundreds of teachers that I'm now supporting and driving change through professional development, through modeling, through resource creation, through assessment development and data analysis on a grander scale, right? I'm looking at numbers, but I'm still ensuring that those numbers I'm looking at, those percentiles, those fractions are still students, right? That they just weren't numbers, but we're talking about students. And so I kept that at the forefront of my mind, because the work always has to go back to the student level. Who are students? What do they need, and where are they going, and how are we going to get them there? Those four things have always been the focus of what I have always done. So the fear of moving on, the fear of moving up is a daunting, tough decision. But trust your gift, trust your talents, and trust that inner kind of uncomfortable feeling that you have. Although very uncomfortable, it feels right. Like, yes, I'm nervous, and yes, I'm afraid, but it feels like it's such the right thing to do for me. I feel like it's the right direction, it's the right move, right? And so I took that fear and I was like, let's go. And I moved, and we began to move, and we started implementing change, things that were new, but things that were manageable, and things that were based on what everyone was ready to do. They could do the work. We just had to contextualize it different, right? And support them by providing them with the training and the resources they need to do it successfully and consistently. Okay. And some of these things you're going to hear me talk about, because next week I'm going to give you my top 20 factors for student achievement. You don't want to miss that. So we talked about moving on, we talked about moving up, and then lastly, sometimes you have to move out. That is likely the most difficult decision. And that was a difficult decision for me. I literally stepped out on faith when I decided to become an educational consultant. Now, granted, while I was working with the school district, I had started consulting because people had come to me to ask me for support in their districts, and I loved it. It was no different than the work I was already doing. And to think that somebody was going to actually pay me additional money to do what I was already doing, to share my ideas with them, and who knew that it had a dollar sign attached to it? I never knew. And so I was excited about that. And I love that work. I love the collaboration. I love the partnerships that I was able to create with other school districts. And it excited me. And so when I had the opportunity to step away altogether and to step out of my comfort zone, step out, no longer attached to a school, no longer attached to a classroom, no longer attached to a district, and do what I felt like I was called to do, because I had my own mission, I had my own vision, I had my own purpose for the work that I want to do, and I had a very clear perspective on what that looked like. Like, it was like it came to me all in a vision, and it happened just like that, right? the thought, the motto, the vision, the purpose, the strategies, the processes in which I go about working with schools and school districts, it was so clear. And I could deny the fact, again, I had that uncomfort, right? I had that like that feeling like there's fear. But although I had this uncomfortable feeling, I also had this feeling of rightness, like this is the thing to do. Shout out to you, brother, pastor, doctor, reverend, bishop, counselor Holmes. This is my brother, y'all. So I can do all that, right? This is fam. This is blood. So thank you for watching. I appreciate you for being here as well. So I stepped out. Step one, I moved on. Then I moved up. And then that experience helped me to move out. So some of you are struggling right now with moving out. You're in a position that you're doing super well in. You're providing great vision. You're providing great support to an organization or to a corporation or maybe to an individual. And you've moved on, you moved up, and you're getting this feeling like, you really want to go and do your thing. Not that being connected with that organization or that person is a bad thing, but your thing is specifically and intentionally all about you and what you're gifted and talented to do all by yourself. Uniquely and divinely orchestrated, gifted individual to do your thing. So you got to move out. Now, moving out is fearful because you've got to build a clientele all by yourself, right? I had a couple of connections, right? I had people I had done some contract work with before, and that did continue. But in order to sustain myself, I need to build new clientele. Where were these clients going to come from? I didn't know. I really didn't know. I just knew this is what I needed to do. And that I had done enough work, I had enough success that I felt comfortable that if I did it, I'm going to take a chance on me. And that's the one thing about moving out. Take a chance on you if you believe that that's what you're supposed to be doing. After over 15 years of work in education, I said, I think I've got the time in. I've got the battle scars, right? I've got the wounds, but I also have the knowledge, and I've got the experience, and I have the stories. And I felt the combination of all those things, especially after getting my doctorate. I really started bringing in the academic, the theory, the research behind everything that I was doing. I knew that I didn't know had a name to it, right? I was just doing this stuff, and I learned, oh, that's what that's called. Oh, that's what they're doing. Oh, that's what I did. Oh, I had no clue. So now I'm bringing in that knowledge with the experience and the success. Knowledge, experience, and success supports you in making the tough decision to move out and to do something new, something different, something uniquely you. And that's what I did. And here I am, amazingly, almost 3 years full time as a consultant on my own. I'm still living, I'm still breathing. Every month's not the same. Okay. This is not a monthly paycheck that's consistent, right? You schedule clients at different times. There's 1 month you're super busy, like you're out, you're supporting, you're working consistently. And there's some months you're sitting at home, sending emails saying, hey, I enjoyed my last visit. I look forward to meeting with you to schedule our next date, because you don't always schedule those dates like for the whole year, right? There's schools, there's so much going on like right now. There's testing going on. Again, shout out to Central High School, Macon, Georgia. Thank you for having me. I enjoyed my time. A fabulous group of young educators doing great work down there. And so I'm looking forward to our continued relationship and partnership, and to see where you guys go even higher next year, because we're going to dive deeper. We're going to dive stronger, but stronger together. And I just want to be a part of seeing you guys soar, because the potential for you guys is limitless. So here I am. I'm still doing this work. I'm still committed to it. I have created even new partnerships, not just with school districts, but with other educational companies, where I go in and provide support to them, because I believe in the work that they're doing. The work of education is so diverse and broad. And the work that you do, if it's not in education, it's so diverse and broad. All you have to go out there is do the research. You will find out that there is work out there that you are already committed to that's happening in spaces that you were totally unaware of. Totally unaware. And it's really about just putting yourself out there, being passionate and true about who you are and what you believe in and what you value. You know, I was almost a little fearful at first and really advocating for Title I Black and brown students in poverty. Like I thought that may put some people off. But guess what? The people that don't like doing that work and that are afraid to hear that kind of language, those aren't the places and the people that I want to work with and partner with anyway. So why be afraid? Be bold about who you are, what you want to do. And that energy, that transparency and honesty will connect with so many people. Who knew that not only would I be doing consulting, but I would also be doing public speaking. This is a shy guy who would hide behind his mother's leg when he was a little boy. But I get called to do public speaking engagements where I go and I speak to districts, I speak to whole schools, I speak to churches, I go to conferences and I present and I share. Here I am now working on a full-length book and workbook, continuing because one, I have the experience, I have the knowledge, but I also have the success. And the same things I want to do as a teacher in that classroom with those 35 kids, of sharing my knowledge and experience to make a difference for those students. That hasn't changed. I still want to share my knowledge and my experience and my passion. But I not only want to support and change and impact students, I want to impact anybody who's committed to education. I want to engage students. I want to engage parents. I want to engage teachers. I want to engage leaders. I want to engage schools. I want to engage districts. I want to engage communities. I want to engage states. I want to engage nations. I want to engage the world. Because education is a conversation we should never stop having. It should be in the forefront of many of the things that we do every day. It should be on the news. It should be on the radio. It should be spread throughout social media. That's just what I believe in. That's my passion. So I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep talking. As you can see, it should be on the internet. It should be on YouTube. It should be on LinkedIn. It should be on TikTok. It should be on Snapchat. It should be everywhere because it is a conversation that changed lives. It's a field that changed lives. And in order for you to move on, move up, and move out, the same level of passion that I'm speaking and that I'm transmitting to you right now is that same passion you should have for whatever that you want to do if you are desiring to move on, move up, and then eventually move out. But it's got to be something that you're committed to because there are risks involved and there will be fears. There will be trepidations. There will be doubt. But none of that can trump the passion because the passion is what keeps you going. So I want to hear from you guys as I'm sitting here talking and sharing with you. Remember, get into the chat. Chat is available on all platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and on LinkedIn. I want to hear from you. I want to hear what you want to say or what you have to say and share those experiences because I know many of you have had or are currently having times in your lives when you're having to make decisions about moving on from something, maybe the environment that you're in, maybe the school or maybe the job that you're in. It's like I want to move on. I want to move on. And some of you saying, I want to move on, but I also want to move up. And sometimes it's not about moving up in the place where you are, right? Sometimes the environment itself could be toxic. And so there are opportunities for you to move up, but maybe the opportunity is not there. And so that's a little bit of moving out. You got to move out from that comfort zone. Yeah, you've been there a long time, right? You've been in the job or been in the position or been with this company 10, 15 years. So what? You have one life. You got one purpose, one calling. Do it. What's the fear? Hello to you, my friend, Miss Colbert. Thank you for watching. She's over there on Facebook, y'all. So what I did was I went ahead and just wanted to share her thoughts with you. She says education. She says education should be everywhere. Should be everywhere. I had a preacher one time says, "You talking about everything else, you need to talk about this. Run and tell that." So run and tell somebody about education. Brother Dr. Bishop, Pastor Counselor Holmes says, I love the fact that I'll talk about comfort zone. Comfort zone can hold you back from your journey and your destiny. When we think outside the box, we grow. When we think outside the box, we grow. I'm gonna dovetail on that comment, Brother Holmes, say sometimes the growth happens outside the box because that's where the soil is. You're not going to grow in the box that you're in because there's no soil in that box. In that box, you're contained, right? You're comfortable, but you're also restricted, you're limited, and there's a ceiling or a cap for you. You got to get outside the box where the soil is so you can grow and so you can flourish. And if that box doesn't open up, you know what I always say? Just tear the box up. The silence was a beat. You can feel in the beat. Just tear the box up. All right? You don't need it. Move out the box and move on. Because you can and you should. And you were called to do it. So a lot of that moving on, moving up, moving out is really about that comfort zone. And some of us, including adults, do not like to be, one, challenged, two, stretched, and three, uncomfortable. Uncomfortable. Brother Holmes goes on to say, I was reporting some plants today and had to get bigger pots, or he was repotting some plants today and he had to get some bigger pots. Why? Because the roots needed more room to grow. Sometimes you got to get in a new environment so that your fruit, your leaves can expand. So you can have a stronger, a more solid foundation where you can be, old school Southern people say, be rooted. You need to be rooted in something. And so what's holding you down? What's grounding you? What's your foundation? How strong is your faith? Because I always say your faith in you, your faith in the universe, your faith in whatever that being is, your faith is your force field. Because when you have strong faith, very few things can penetrate through and impact you to cause you to question yourself, your abilities, and what you can and will become. But weak faith gives you a weak force field, and you constantly seem or feel as though you're under attack. So you need to strengthen up your faith, your confidence in you, because a strong faith gives you a strong force field. Never doubt what you know your power is, because others can see it as well. And what they try to do is then try to downplay, belittle the power that you have inside of you. Who cares? Nobody's word should be able to penetrate your purpose because you already know, right? Strong faith, strong force field. Get into a new environment. That may mean you need to move out, move up, or move on so that you can grow and have a stronger foundation to do what it is that you were called to do. I love a good amen corner. Brother Holmes says, so true. So true. Now you guys are really getting into it. I see that chat's opening up. So keep throwing in those comments or questions that you may have. So you may want to know, you're in a position you're thinking about making a transition either on, up, or out. But you may have some questions. You may have some doubts. If you have a question about that, I can share with you my own experience as it relates to those topics, and maybe try to help you out and help identify what it is that you need to do in terms of your next steps. But never doubt. Trust your gut. You can do it because you were called to do it. So that's what I want you all to continually believe in yourselves and believing in what you can do. But have the experience. Definitely have the knowledge. And lastly, I want you to have the success, because you can't go somewhere doing something that you have not already been successful at. Nobody wants to hear, well, I'm still working, or I'm trying to see if I can do. Nobody wants to be the person that, being the scapegoat or being the guinea pig for your work, right? We can't afford that in many situations, to have somebody be the guinea pig for what you think you can do. No, put in the time and the effort and the sweat energy, to have the proof that you can do it, and then move out. Don't make a move prematurely. Let me say that. These are tough decisions, but you don't want to move prematurely, because if you don't have the evidence to validate the move that you're trying to make, it may not be time for you to move. It's not saying that the move is not going to happen. It just should not happen right now. We have to be patient. We have to be patient and continue to work until the time is right. If you move early, if you move too early, it could result in failure. And there's nobody to blame for that move, but yourself. Let's go back to the comments. Brother Holmes says, truly love this because I've been challenging myself in some newness that God is placing in my life. Thanks. So trust God, trust the process. Don't move too early. Move right on time. So it may be in that transition, right? At that particular level, moving on, moving up, and then finally moving out. But have the evidence, just like in education. You don't move students on until you know they're ready, because you got evidence to support the move. So same thing for you. Don't make the move prematurely. Make sure you have evidence that it is time for you to shift, to make the move. And that's a tough decision, because including what not wanting to be challenged, not wanting to be uncomfortable. Adults, just like children, can be very impatient, and having to wait for what they want, for what you want, can be problematic. So I encourage you, get the evidence, be patient, and then trust the timing. Because when the timing is right, this is just my thought, the opportunity always presents itself. And by that point, you're ready. As they say, you don't have to get ready if you stay ready. And when it opens up, when the door not presents itself, when it opens up, all you have to do is walk through it, because you're ready. You're absolutely ready to make the change. So I'm going to check out these comments. Let's see what you guys are saying over here in Facebook. I see you guys are still there. Excuse my language. Mixing up, got this braces, right? So any more comments? We're getting close to the end. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you on all 3 platforms, YouTube, Facebook, as well as LinkedIn. If you don't mind, if you are watching anywhere else but I would appreciate you going over to YouTube, going to Fully Engaged Education, finding that channel, and if you don't mind, hit subscribe. And if you're there, go ahead and click that notification bell, so that when I go live every Thursday at night, you get the notification. You can come back and tune in. You can also like and share this with other educators or other friends or lovers of education in your life. I appreciate you guys for watching. This is always a pleasure to do this, share with you each and every Thursday. I just have so many topics that we're going to cover. I have so many great guests that are lined up. I've had no guests, maybe except for so far this particular season. So get ready. I've got some great guests lined up who are going to share a wealth of knowledge and experiences with you all. It's going to blow your mind. These people are doing fantastic work, and I'm just honored to be connected to them. So thank you again. Stay tuned. There's more to come. I'll be back next week. Remember, next week I'm talking about top 20 factors to drive student achievement. Top 20. Top 20. Number 1, I can tell you, leadership. It always boils down to leadership. I can't wait to see you guys next week. Thank you again for watching. Stay safe, be blessed, and I will see you next time. Chris Holmes signing off.